Evening guys, James here from Sunseeker Southampton. A little bit noisy behind us as we are just starting breakdown to the end of the 2022 Southampton Boat Show. Behind me is expertly driven by one of our contract skippers. This is the lovely 88 yacht, just manoeuvring out of a rather tight space in there. Gonna have a lovely run back to Poole this evening, and we are going to be on board this evening on this 76 yacht. So we've obviously done some close quarters docking on one of these before, but this evening we're just going to take this one out and up Southampton water. I'm going to take you on a tour with us. So just going to come up top so you can see what we are going to be dealing with this evening before we start everything up. A little bit of space off to the port side, but if you look down the front, quite tight on the lovely little Geno sports fishers over there. So just looking at what I think I'm going to do. Over the port side I've got some space here, so I'm going to bring my nose round, I think, into this space here where we've got a bit of space, and then we will reverse out as the guys are doing on this one. So let's go and do a quick startup procedure here. Got a couple of crew with me this evening. Dan, who of course does our engineering services in Swanwick, just up on the bow there. We've got Kim, my wife, and a couple of the guys from the office. So I've just turned the ignitions on, and I'm going to fire my engines up into life, give them a chance to start warming up. Obviously lots of fingers have been playing with lots of buttons here this week at the show, so I've just taken all the kit off the demo modes that they run. So obviously got 3 screens down here, all the nav kit, covered lots of these on the tour, so I'm not going to dwell on that too much this evening. Just going to ask him to run around and check all the doors downstairs are shut for us, please, and then we'll go up onto the flybridge so that we can see what's what. So 95 yacht just up there behind us, that one's going out shortly, and also coming back to Swanwick. We've got a nice wind on the starboard side. This is going to be quite a tight one out of here this evening, so we're just going to power up on the throttles there. Just checking my thrusters are working. They're hydraulic thrusters, so lots of power, which we're going to need this evening. I'm not going to test my engines just yet because we're quite tight on the boats down in front of us. So I'm just going to put the camera down for a sec and check back once we're getting ready to leave. Okay, hopefully you've got us on both cameras. I'm going to spin this one round just to show the bow view here. It's going to be very, very tight out of here this evening. So we're just going to take our thrusters over to starboard. So basically we're losing the tension on our lines here. It's very, very windy on the broadside. I'm just helping the guys ease the lines off. We've got one go at this. So we have a small delay when we engage forward and stern thrust on the engines. So excuse, I might be a little quiet at times with this because I'm going to have a lot of concentration here to get out this evening. So trusting my crew implicitly. Okay, you're going to go backwards now, yeah? Using my thrusters to stay up into the wind, using the pontoon. Okay, Drew, on the front, please. And we are just about away. So we have about half a metre on the front. Trusting my crew here. So we are just about having made our 90-degree turn. I'm not out yet. So there we have it. You can see just what we've been dealing with here. So we are just about made our turn. Got a pontoon here down the starboard side. Nice thing with a boat like this, just with our hydraulic thrusters, we've got plenty of power here. So we can obviously see down here. And you can see what we're out. So we're going to stick her in reverse now. Let's get out of this. Out of this hole. Quite a tight one that, I have to say. Not often that we do such tight manoeuvres, but obviously it's good to show the boat is more than capable to get her out and away. So this evening, let's show you where we are. So we are currently here top of Southampton Water. Hopefully you can see that on my chart here, and we're going to run down the docks here, out past the bottom of the Itchen River. We've got a speed limit here, 6, and then into the open waters here of Southampton Water, and we will be away. We'll be able to get the boat up to speed. You'll be able to see what she's like out in some open water. So you can see at the moment we're just doing over 4.5 knots, taking things nice and steady. We've let the engines warm up. Got 12 on the VHF channel this evening, which is port control, just to keep an eye on the traffic around here. So I'm just going to get myself sorted back out, and we will join back in a bit. Just coming past the boat show here, try and give you a little bit of a flavour of what a big setup it is. I say one of the largest international shows, certainly great to have a presence here. If you are in the marine industry in some shape or form, I'm sure you will have experienced this at some stage. But it is a fantastic showcase of the best of British built boats, as well as a lot of the Europeans that join us here. Lovely tall ship there in the distance. You can see where we are here, top of Southampton Water. We've got the main docks at the back here, so we do occasional videos here where we're loading boats onto ships. Looks like there's a cruise ship up the back there. We're going out behind us this evening, and a small armada of other little and large boats heading up the Solent and off to their home waters. It's been a fantastic show for Sunseeker this year. I'm sure they'll publish the figures in due course in terms of unit sales and value, but very, very pleased with the result. And we've got, of course, still a little bit of stock to sell for the 23 season, so plenty of time still to talk to us about getting on the water some of the models if you want to secure something for next year. So we got asked, come out on the chart here, it'll be a little bit easier to see. I'm doing it on my iPad this evening purely because the plotters on the boat don't have a chart card in at the moment, so they're just giving baseline maps. But you can see here basic detail, just giving you the sort of colours of the waters, white being the deepest waters, and then as we zoom in, you'll see that the cartography level will increase, and then we get the relief shading here with the different contours of depth. The red and green obviously marking the channel itself. And you can see obviously things like racing marks with the yellow buoys and what have you. And as we come up Southampton water, see if we can show you some other marks up here. So we get down to the bottom of the Hamble River. So these are cardinal marks here with the little cones on, and those are basically showing, so this is an east cardinal telling us to stay to this side, this is a south cardinal, so it's basically marking the sandbar that's in here. So we'll be coming down the Southampton water here, taking a hard left and then up the Hamble River, as we often do, back to our home berth, which is all the way up the river here to Swanwick at the top. So that's going to take us probably about 40 minutes down Southampton water this evening, and then we'll be about half an hour up the river. So hopefully we still have a little bit of sunshine with us, and then we'll do some docking back into Swanwick alongside some of the other boats that have got out ahead of us. Obviously very lucky with the weather this evening, with the sunshine, and it does show that manoeuvring a boat like this can very much be achieved in some very tight spaces, as long as you've got a little bit of experience and confidence that the boat will do exactly as you want it to. So just to give a little bit more an overview of what I've got on the display. So these are two 19-inch Simrad NSS Evo 3 S's, which are the latest version of the Simrad plotters. Then we've got engine telemetry here, both sides on the dashboard. If you just have a sit down at the helm here. So we had our thruster controls we were using earlier, trim tabs, have a go with those this evening. VHF radio handset, then we've got remote control spotlight, autopilot, a CM8 repeater for downstairs, and then a multifunction gauge that we can put pretty much any of the navigation information on that we might require. Loads of buttons here for engine controls, electric opening roof up on the hard top here above us, and then the throttles are nicely down here, so it's all very nice to hand. Obviously the wheels on tilt mechanism as well, driving quite laid back with it this evening, a little bit more like a car than a bus, but owners obviously electing to do that slightly differently. We do have a little acrylic screen here which can be pulled up for a bit better wind protection if you need it. Wind is over on our starboard quarter at the moment, so not a worry as we're running along. So we've got to get past the two big car carriers here, which is obviously Southampton Docks, one of the busiest in the world, and then we'll work our way out past Hythe Pier here, and then with the speed limit finishes and we'll be able to get up and away. Obviously boat's very docile at this speed, say running just over 6 knots, and we'll be up running this evening at around 20-22 knots cruise once we're out of the speed limit. Let's have a quick look round behind us. Looks like there's a large P&O ship there coming out of the cruise terminal up the back there. I was going to get the drone out this evening to give you some running shots, but it's a little bit windy for recovery back on board, so I think probably we'll just maintain the handhelds this evening, try and get the crew to have a run around, show you some different shots as we get up and going. So just to save my batteries, I'm going to check out for now, and we'll be back in a bit once we're out of the speed limit. So I haven't quite got out to open speed limit yet, but I just want to check back in and show you this beautiful tall ship. Have to forgive me, I'm not up on the names of all of these classic yachts, but that is quite a sight to see here this evening. Obviously got a couple of sails up and just pottering along quite happily. I'm sure they're going to have a very nice sail back down Southampton water this evening. We've got about another 6-8 minutes, I suspect, before we're up and going, so we'll check back in a bit. Right, so we are at the just past Hythe Pier in the bottom of the Itchen River here. These guys are obviously showing us up, so let's get going, see if we can catch them up. So you'll see how quickly, this is a big fast boat, so you see the speed come up very quickly on one of these. 1550 horsepower V12 MANs, and they come up effortlessly out of the water. So we're just coming up onto the plane here. I'm going to stand up, it'll be a bit windy on the camera, but just to give you a view of what the boat's like. Absolutely effortless, these up out of the water. Sequential turbo system, and that's a very nice comfortable cruise speed there, around 23 knots. So we're up in the middle of Southampton water here. You can see obviously the channel markers. I'm going to stay in the channel this evening just because there's lots of little boats around us doing some video tours and what have you. Obviously the boat can go faster if we wanted to, so if we vary those throttles, it's got a real surge forward. You see how that speed picks up, and we can keep up with most of these guys, to be honest. The boat will run north of 30 knots if we wanted to. See, still climbing there. They're all probably quite surprised to see that we can blast down the Solent here, keeping up with them. So scary numbers, I'm sure, if we have a look on the system here and find some instrumentation. May not have been configured yet, but see what we can find on here. Yeah, so we don't have our fuel burn on that one. Let's see if we can find it in these. Right, so we're burning 315 litres an hour there, according to our gauge, at 31 knots. Punching tide this evening. Obviously, don't want to run the boat too hard this evening, so I'm going to bring that back down to a slightly more sedate cruising speed. Don't want anybody to suddenly arrive into our wash behind, but we bring that back, you see there, to about 24 knots. We're down to 235 litres now, so that would be much more comfortable fuel burn for long distance cruising. We got a range at this sort of speed of around 300 nautical miles, and the boat is absolutely effortless. You could stand here quite happily having a chat with your guests if you had people over on the port side there. Big seating area, nicely protected by the big windscreen that's down here in front of us. Right, so we are almost at the bottom of the Hamel River. Just have to have a quick look behind us, check we haven't got any little lunatics coming up alongside us. There's a guy doing donuts in the mouth of the river, there's always one. So this is our majestic 95 yacht coming back to Southampton this evening to Swanwick with us. So she's just braved the Solent with all the little boats rushing back into port. So we'll be back on the speed limit shortly. It's like the poor old sailing boats getting rocked around a bit here from some of the little boats whizzing around. We will be easing back our throttles in just a sec. Try and give you a nice profile shot. It'll be off in the distance there, but 95 there, just turning into the river. So she's coming up to my hammerhead. I say that one very kindly loaned to us for the show, and she will be going off to have some extra bits and pieces retrofitted by our team ashore over the winter months before she heads off for her new owner in the spring. So just making our turn now into the bottom of the Hamble. So we obviously had a look at the nav earlier. This is the South Cardinal, which is marking the southern extremity of the sandbar that's hiding in here, and we will shortly be back on a 6 knot limit as we work our way back up the river. Unfortunately, it looks like we've lost the sun for the evening. It's up there hiding behind the clouds. Guys from Sea Ventures coming back with their Genos. Looks like we've got a Sargo over there as well. All having just as much fun on the water. Great to see. It's a nice part of being in the job for those that are interested in being out and driving boats. End of a boat show is always a chance to go run the boats back to their home bases. So I'm just bringing my speed back now. The speed limit starts just from this double pole post here over on the right hand side, and we've got about 25 minutes at slow speed running up the river before we let the guys in front of us get set up on our hammerhead, and then we will be docking back into our berthing pool. Going to be quite a tight one this evening, not quite perhaps as tight as what we've just done coming out of the show, but we have Predator 74 XPS that went in just before us, and we will be coming in alongside her to finish off. So I'm just going to check out now again for a bit, and we'll be joined back as we get into the marina. So you see what I'm seeing here behind us, obviously just knocking the engines in and out of gear here, one at a time. Luckily the wind's dropped right off, so we've got nothing much to worry about now. Still a little bit of tide running from our left to right, coming in backwards if you like, so the tide is coming in up the river. Just scan you around so you can see what we're seeing from all the different angles. See from the helm here itself, I can see all the way from that starboard side up. Port side, I can see down the stairs at the back there. You can just about see the bathing platform, which does make docking these very, very, very easy. Let's move the camera for you there on the drone so you can see what it looks like from up top. Let's put this one down for a sec. So tonight we're going to dock in alongside the 74 Predator, the grey-hulled one that came back from the show. And you can see on the aerial view there, we've got the underwater lights on as well. It's still quite a bit of light here. We're not going to see too much with those. So I'll just show you over the side. You can see the nose of a Predator 60 tucked out there. And you can see the gap we're going into, so we're going to go alongside this, say, 74. We've got the wind just coming round onto our starboard side. You can see the flags in the background up there. See the nose of this one here, and then across here to see what we've got over this side to work with. So we're going to start to make our turn in just a sec, keeping the boat nice and tight over here. Before I start to bring that nose round. So down on the back here will call me in terms of distance onto the Predator behind us. See, we've got about half a metre here. I'm going to start letting my nose come round. You can see on the aerial view, I'm sure things are starting to look quite tight. Just a little dab on the thrusters there. And we're just going to walk her in. can see that from the top. And we're in. So we're actually not docking on the pontoon here. We're going to go in alongside on the boat next to us. So we just come across. We'll have a look. See what we've got. Obviously you can see 74 alongside us. Dan's just going to talk us back in. You can still see on the top there on the drone. Looks like we're coming in quite nicely. Bit of space down the back there. So hopefully you can see on the control camera just above us what we're using in terms of power. And we're in. So just let the guys tie up. The drone actually is really useful because I can see the view behind me, which is quite handy. See a nice little gap there down the side of the boat. So it could be perhaps a docking aid, dare I say, for certain people in certain situations. That's really handy for us. And you can see just letting you look forward there, we've got some space in front. So I've got a 68 Manhattan coming back into that space tomorrow, and then a little space for a couple of the other smaller boats that we sell as well, which hopefully will be joining back in the not too distant future if the weather allows over the next couple of days. So we're just going to get tied up and we'll sign off for this evening. I hope you've enjoyed that with us. It's a nice run back. Weather's been fantastic. If you'd like to know more, as always, it's james@sunseekersouthampton.com on the email, or mobiles +44 7747 686 587. Check back soon and we'll show you more of what it's all about life on the water.